Welcome to another episode of Gen Z in Manufacturing, a podcast where I interview young people about their journeys in the manufacturing industry, how they intend to influence the industry, and what they are looking for from an employer. For this episode, I welcome Bogdan Malynovskyy, a 26-year-old Director of Advanced Projects and Large-Scale Robotics Engineer at Hacksmith Industries. Hacksmith, an entertainment company with about 14.6 million YouTube subscribers, is dedicated to bringing to life fictional concepts from movies, video games, and comics through the creation of functional prototypes. The company's projects include Captain America's shield, the power loader from Aliens, and a lightsaber, with Malynovskyy serving as the lead engineer on the latter project. Before we hear from Malynovskyy, please make sure to like and share this episode of Gen Z in Manufacturing. To view previous episodes, visit manufacturing.net. If you are a member of Gen Z and would like to discuss your experience in the manufacturing industry, please get in touch with me, Nolan Beilstein, at nolan@ien.com. Before we get started, we would like to thank our sponsor, RedZone. Empower your front line while growing your bottom line. QAD RedZone is the #1 connected workforce solution for plants of all sizes. It's time for manufacturers to start engaging their frontline employees, resulting in reduced turnover and increased productivity. RedZone enables you to stop analyzing yesterday and start solving today's problems now. For the first time ever, production, maintenance, and quality teams are following the same playbook. Well, Bogdan, thank you for joining Gen Z in Manufacturing. My first question for you was, what kind of skilled trades experience did you have prior to working at Hacksmith?
I have quite a bit of skill trade experience. I actually went to college for electromechanical engineering technology. So I have a 3-year advanced diploma from Humber College. And both in my thesis, I worked on developing modular AGVs, autonomous guided vehicles, for a company called SCW Eurodrive, as well as participating in the skill trades competition, including World Skills in Kazan 2019 for the mechatronics sector. So I was basically competitively building assembly lines.
How did you come to work for Hacksmith, and what drew you to it?
So I actually ended up starting to work for James at the Hacksmith here back in 2016, basically out of high school. I met him as a fan and said, hey, I've got some experience in electrical and some software development. I know that, the team is currently mostly mechanical. I'd love to, come by, volunteer, and help out. This is something I was really passionate about. And I just wanted to, I was curious about it. I wanted to work some cool projects. And I reached out to him, sent him my resume, and he said, you know what, we've got a couple of projects here that you can help out with. So I started as a volunteer. That transitioned to being part-time while I was doing college. And then now that I've graduated, I'm here full-time directing the engineering team.
And what are your current duties there?
So my major duty here as a director is just basically organizing the engineering team, knowing what videos are coming up, planning upcoming videos, ordering things, as well as doing design reviews, helping the engineering team with solving engineering problems, as well as working on my own larger projects. So currently, the project that I'm focusing on is our fully self-contained lightsaber, which will actually be able to cut through steel like butter.
When we spoke in Dallas at Dassault's 3D Experience World, you mentioned that your father had worked as an electrician and you grew up in a household that encouraged building and creating. But when do you think is the ideal age to start exposing young people who didn't have similar upbringings to the potentials of a manufacturing career?
I think as soon as possible is ideal. And there's a lot of ways to do that, I think, that doesn't necessarily require a lot of technical skill to begin with, right? So for me, a big portion of that when I was growing up was Legos, right? Being able to tinker with my hands, try to, visualize a concept in my mind and actually put it together by hand, trying to use, existing parts in new and innovative ways through something as simple as Lego. And then that kind of, snowballed into soldering, learning how to program, learning how to weld in high school, and, got me to where I am today.
Was there ever a critical moment between you and your dad when you said to yourself, I can do this, I can make a career out of these things that I enjoy doing?
I think the biggest spark was I always, took stuff apart, and I loved doing that. Me and my dad would, drive around on garbage day and pick up old broken printers and, old broken TVs or someone's lawnmower, and I would sit there tinkering it for hours and taking it apart and trying to figure out how it works, or, going on the internet, searching up, okay, how do I fix this? Here's the problem that I'm having. And then that kind of grew into a big mess of parts and components and bins at my house, in my garage. And my mom, who also was very much encouraging this, kind of said, you know what, I am fed up with having all this, taken apart components and all this garbage in the garage. I'm going to send him to a robotics club. And that's where I think it kind of really went from, oh, I'm just doing this because, I want to figure out how this works, to, okay, now I have all these parts, I have all this experience, I kind of know how a bunch of things works and I'm able to fix it. But now how do I actually develop something from all these parts, from all these components? And then that kind of, went to competitive robotics and building robots, doing more Lego Mindstorms. And that's where I learned, soldering and programming, and kind of started expanding my skill set from there.
How well do you think that schools and colleges, universities as a whole do at promoting careers in manufacturing?
I think colleges, or at least, from my experience, from my college, they were really keen on manufacturing. As I said, they had they actually have an entire new building called the CTI, and so the Center for Technology and Innovation. And that entire building is focused on going above and beyond the typical school curriculum, and focused on extracurricular activities. So whether it's research projects, whether it's competitive programs, and getting students ready for competitions in the skilled trades, but also they have a lot of industry partners, which actually will partner with the college to have students work on real problems and real solutions in the industry. And I think that's how I, what I did for my thesis. And I think that's extremely important, to not just have, a curriculum and every set of students, takes apart and puts together the same robot station, for example, but actually having industry come in to the college and say, here's the equipment that we have, here's the problem we're trying to solve. Can you, put it together a team and actually get these students to work on a real problem just as they would in the real industry or in their job?
What percentage of Hacksmith's viewers would you say fall under the category of Gen Z, so ages 12 to 27?
I think it's about 60 to 70%. And yeah, we have a lot of young viewers, and a lot of them are really passionate. A lot of them really like the technical aspects and kind of understanding not just like, hey, here's the end product. But I think we actually have a lot of viewership that is really interested in terms of like, how did they get to that part? What challenges did they run into, and how did they solve those challenges? And I think that's really inspiring to not only see from our perspective, be like, okay, we're actually getting people to understand that there's a technical challenge here, and it's actually really fun and really interesting to solve these technical challenges, but also being able to get people's minds open on, how everyday things work, and how things are developed, for everyday use at the end of the day.
Do you think Gen Z's interest in short form content translates to how they work in a professional setting?
It's not something that I've experienced, to a huge extent, myself, because I feel like our team is, on the older age of Gen Zs, and I think that has been, changing. But I do think that they're using a lot more innovative tools, such as, a big one being AI, to kind of when they run into a problem, being able to get more ideas and more generalized ideas. And the way that they problem solve is definitely different through that. And I think that as industry moves forward, and as there is more tools available that are, ever more powerful, we're going to see the way that we plan, the way that we think, and the way that we come across issues and work through those particular issues in a project or in a in a manufacturing setting. We're definitely going to see those tools being used, and I think a lot of time being saved. So I think while there can be a lot of negatives to consuming short form content, I think that the ability to jump back and forth between tasks and increase the efficiency of context switching when you're working in the industry or working in manufacturing can actually be extremely beneficial to project progress and development.
How often do you hear from viewers that are looking or are already pursuing a career in manufacturing?
Actually, I think we hear about that quite often, and I think it's one of the most inspirational things for us, and one of the main reasons we do what we do. And we hear all the time that students will come back and say, "Hey, I went into engineering because of you," or this guy really, really inspired me, and I actually just graduated because of your channel. And that's something that's really positive feedback to us, as showing our goal and our mission is positively impacting people's lives, and hopefully through that positively impacting the world as those students enter the manufacturing field and are able to bring that passion, that excitement, that creativity, and that innovation into the manufacturing industry.
Yes, as you mentioned, hacksmiths calling cards, turning fiction into reality, getting people to say stuff like, wow, that's really cool. So how can manufacturing employers highlight the industry's interesting aspects and get young people to say the same thing about manufacturing jobs?
So one of the things that I've noticed a lot in talking to some of my colleagues or friends from college, or even in some of the students that I've been mentoring for some of these skilled trades competitions, one of the things that I notice a lot is, especially with the skilled trades positions, the skilled trades jobs, the engineers that are working there, or the technicians that are working there, don't often get to see the end product. And I've seen this a lot in the industry where you'll be working on, designing and manufacturing a particular bracket, but, then the bracket works, everything fits, cool, bracket's done, you move on to the next project. And I think that one of the things that I really want to see more in the industry is really getting, the people on the floor, the skilled trades, the engineers, to actually, be able to see the full development cycle and be able to see their end product in deployment. And I think that's one of the things that would really help bring a lot of excitement and a lot of that passion to especially the newer generations, as they can see that the work that they're putting into this, one small part of a larger project, how that actually incorporates the project goals as a whole and how it changes the world at the end of the day. Right, whether it's a machine or a piece of equipment that's being deployed at an assembly line, being able to see, go to visit the assembly line and see, here's my machine. There's that part that I built. There's that part that I designed. Here's this piece of equipment that is now, in development, creating medicine, creating, food, creating, something like a product at the end of the day that, is benefiting other people in this world. And then I think being able to take that away and say, wow, initially I thought that this was a small part, but when you see the full bigger picture of how that integrates into, production, into manufacturing, and into the real world, I think that really gets a lot of excitement going, gets a lot of people, to really be more passionate about every individual step that goes into creating that final product.
In Dallas, you said one of the goals of Hacksmith's videos is to try to get people to think outside of the box and think about what's new. Do you think that current generational divides between younger and older workers, as far as how they go about their jobs, do you think it combats that mindset?
I think both are really important. I think having a proper mix, and what I mean by that is there's pros and cons to both using older technology that is proven and that is reliable and that, is easy to set up, as well as implementing new technologies in, various different ways to be able to, increase efficiency, increase reliability, increase safety. So I think it's really important to have a workforce that is balanced between, people who of the older generation who may have more experience and more trust in technology that is, proven, that has reputation, but also having a fresh set of eyes and a fresh mindset who are more open to integrating new technology and trying out new things. I think it's that collaboration between both fields that is going to get us a system or a manufacturing production line that is going to be as reliable, as safe as possible, while also implementing new technologies that make it more efficient, that make it more sustainable, and that allow it to compete in the industry for far longer, giving it more of a future-proof solution.
And we talked about a little bit earlier things about AI and automation. Gen Z is known for being technologically inclined, and those technologies have been tabbed as areas that Gen Z could really help advance because of their tech savviness. This can be kind of intimidating to an older workforce. So how can the new workforce make older generations more comfortable with this new way of thinking?
I mean, I guess one of the big things is just communication and explaining the reasoning and the pros and cons behind each particular technology, right? I think it's very easy, especially when there's, a stressful situation or, you're trying to get a product out to market as quickly as possible to get caught up in okay, this is how we're doing it. This is the only solution. And I think it's really important that during the initial stages of a project or of a the system design or a system integration, to kind of think about, okay, here's how we've done it in the past, and here's the pros and cons of that. As well as, okay, what are new ways that we can do it? and here are the pros and cons of that, and really discuss from both upper management to the engineers to the skilled tradespeople that are actually in deployment of this, to see, okay, through the entire chain of a product's life cycle, how do these technologies benefit the final end user, and how do these technologies take away from the end user, and making sure that everybody's at a consensus and everybody understands that it's not a one-way game, right? It's not just like, okay, this is the best solution. Every piece of technology and every industrial process has a particular purpose, has a niche, and sometimes that niche is larger than another. But it's important to understand where your product fits in, what the final use case of the product is going to be, and select the according technologies based on those requirements. And so I think we're going to be seeing a lot of products in the near future that still use a lot of older technology, but have new features being added into them to increase, as I said, those particular things such as safety, efficiency, sustainability. And I think that communication and really showing and doing the prototyping as you're developing a project and showing that those pros and cons are going to be valuable to the end user, or what are going to make the generation that's more familiar to older technologies or technologies that are have been proven to be robust, to be more comfortable with taking a new innovative approach and incorporating technologies that might not necessarily be something that they're familiar with, but they can clearly see how that's going to affect the end product and the end user positively.
Thank you for watching this episode of Gen Z in Manufacturing. Please make sure to like and share the episode. To watch or listen to previous episodes, go to manufacturing.net and click on the Gen Z tab. If you are a member of Gen Z and would like to discuss your experience in the manufacturing industry, please contact me, Nolan Beilstein, at nolan@ien.com.